very good evening to you and a warm welcome to our program, Diplomatic Faces. And on Diplomatic Faces, we make it a point to share ideas and thoughts on the importance of geopolitics and also about the initiatives various leaders have taken for the betterment of the community. So today, joining with us on Diplomatic Faces is the High Commissioner of Bangladesh to Sri Lanka, His Excellency Tareq Mohammed Ariful Islam. We are honored to have you with us this evening on the program. A very good evening to you.
Thank you very much. A Happy New Year to you and everyone watching. And it's an honor and privilege for me to be on your show.
It's an honor to have you with us on the show as well, Your Excellency. And today we will be talking about you and your journey as a diplomat and also about the bilateral relationship between the two countries. So let's begin with about yourself. So first and foremost, I was very interested in this topic about your degree, which is quite different to what you're doing right now. So you have a degree in engineering and technology. So when you were pursuing your higher studies, did you ever think that you will be a diplomat, or did you ever dream of becoming a diplomat?
To be very honest, not really. In fact, I wanted to be an engineer, and accordingly I had my engineering degree in civil engineering, and I also served as an engineer in various public and private sectors in Bangladesh, and I was just about to leave the country for the United States to have my higher engineering degrees. So that was my ultimate goal, but the destiny had different plans for me. So around that time, when we were fresh out of the university, there was a trend among my peers to sit for the civil service examination. So I sat for the examination, got selected for foreign service,
This
and
was not
ended
peer
up here.
pressure.
So it was.
It was.
It was. So when it comes to career choice, definitely it was not deliberate, it was not planned. It's, as you have said, mostly about peer pressure and societal pressure.
But it was for the good at the end of the day.
Yes, looks like.
And Your Excellency, you've been a diplomat, you've been serving as a diplomat since the late 90s. So any memorable moments you would like to share with us?
Yes, before coming to Sri Lanka, my overseas assignments were in permanent mission to the United Nations in New York twice, and also in India. So my most memorable experience came in New York, and that was the graduation of Bangladesh from the LDC category. This is a UN process, and I was involved with the process from the very beginning. And the graduation from the LDC category is a huge achievement for any country, of course for Bangladesh, and it is also a very wonderful recognition, global recognition of our development journey. So that is why it remains as the most memorable experience in my diplomatic career.
Your Excellency, this year marks the 50th anniversary of the establishment of bilateral relations between Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. So what are the special features of the bilateral relations between the two countries, and what can we expect?
Thank you. Very important and very topical question. You might be knowing that Sri Lanka recognized Bangladesh as a sovereign and independent nation in March 1972, several months after our independence. So that remains as the cornerstone of our friendly relationship. And Bangladesh-Sri Lanka relationship is all about friendship, goodwill, and good neighborliness. We have no tension in our relationship. We try to help each other in our humble ways, sharing our best practices and development experiences, and that is the beauty of the relationship. Now, as you have said, over the past 50 years, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, as the two close South Asian neighbors, have been maintaining a very high level of cooperation bilaterally, internationally, and the international forum particularly, and also regionally. Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, we have got a lot of similarities. We share common historical legacy, similar development challenges, and even identical. There are so many other things which are in common. We host a sizable number of Sri Lankans in Bangladesh who are working in our ready-made garments, our in various industries and service sectors, and contributing to the economy of both the countries. We are one of the top users of the Port of Colombo. A lot of Sri Lankan conglomerates are running their successful operation in Bangladesh. So the people of the two countries, the people-to-people contact is very strong, and that is one of the forms the core of our relationship. The political relationship is very warm. Your Prime Minister visited Bangladesh in March last year. There is a standing invitation from His Excellency, your President and Honorable Prime Minister, to our Prime Minister to visit Sri Lanka. Now we are working on translating this political goodwill into sectoral cooperation to make it more beneficial, more meaningful to our two people. We are cooperating with each other on various contemporary global issues. We have common position on many things. We have been extending support to Sri Lanka materially and politically. We have been supporting you all through in your fight against terrorism, on your human rights issues. So basically these are the special features of the relationship, and when it comes to the future relationship, how we develop it, it's a work in progress. So what we have achieved over the past 50 years is definitely satisfactory, but at the same time, we are mindful that there is a lot of room for improvement, and we are working on that potentiality. Basically, when it comes to sectoral cooperation, we are trying to strengthen the existing and traditional ones and trying to open up new areas of cooperation. Like we are collaborating on deep sea fishing, maritime domain, in tourism, in IT, for example. So at the end of the day, we want to make our journey as fruitful and as beneficial for our two peoples.
Exactly, and likewise, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka are member countries of many intergovernmental organizations like BIMSTEC, SAARC, and the Commonwealth as well. So how can this develop the understanding between the two countries?
Yeah. I think becoming the members of the same international and regional bodies is definitely an advantage. It provides a platform for more bilateral cooperation. By being a member of the same international and regional organizations, we get to know each member state's positions, what is doable and what is not. So we can identify the areas where the progress has not been up to the mark through the regional forum. So we can take up those areas and try to implement those things bilaterally. So that is how, being a member of the same intergovernmental organizations, we can take the gamut of the bilateral relationship beyond the common agenda of the international forum.
So that certainly is very beneficial for both countries.
Yes, definitely.
And Bangladesh and Sri Lanka has another thing in common, as you mentioned, that we have a lot of Sri Lankan conglomerates who are in Bangladesh and
Yes.
running businesses in Bangladesh as well. Another thing we have in common is the apparel industry.
Yes.
So Bangladesh is one of the world's top leading apparel manufacturers, among the top 10. So how did Bangladesh achieve this target in a short period of time?
Thank you. In fact, we are now the number 2 after China, and our export, we call it ready-made garments. You call it apparel, we call it ready-made garments. We are last year in 2021, 2022, we exported more than 42 billion US dollar worth of ready-made garments, and that was about 35% more than what we exported the year before. So that is the powerhouse of our economy, and 85% of our export earning comes from the ready-made garment sector. We started our journey about 4 decades back, and there has been a number of factors, driving factors behind this phenomenal growth. I would like to mention a few. First one is the competitive labor. We offer competitive, cheap, and yet skilled labor force, and which is one of the lowest in the region. And our universities, technical universities and vocational institutions are producing a good number of textile engineers every year. So they are adding up to the workforce, the skilled workforce in this sector. Then the concessional treatment, the multi-fiber arrangement, which was in vogue between 1971 and 1994, and subsequently the WTO agreement on textiles and clothes, they gave us preferential market access to the European market and quota-free access to the North American market. That gave us the initial break, and based on that, our ready-made garments industry developed and thrived. And when those were withdrawn, we still maintained our competitiveness, we flourished and conquered the post-MFA multi-fiber arrangement challenges. Then the quick return. This sector offers very quick return, unlike any other sector. You can get the return in 3 to 5 years' time. Then there's the government policy. Our government from time to time took the right kind of policy. For example, in the early 80s, we offered bonded warehouse facilities to our ready-made garments, 100% export-oriented ready-made garments. Then we have the compliance issue. So learning from our difficult experiences, we had very difficult experiences until about 7-8 years back. So we became more compliant. So currently we are the front runner in transparency in workplace safety, in the green manufacturing part, and value chain responsibility. I think we have the highest number of LEED certified green garment factories in Bangladesh. And over the years, the wage of the laborers increased, and with that, the workplace condition also increased.
And you also focus on sustainability in terms
Absolutely.
of garment
Garments.
manufacturing.
Yes, absolutely. And that is how we have maintained our attractiveness as a sourcing destination. Then there are other things like use of female workforce. 85% of the workforce in the R&J sector are female, and they have a certain advantage over their male counterpart when it comes to sewing and trade in this sector. The utility cost is very low compared to the region, and there is also the advantage of relocation. During this global trade rivalry and the geopolitics, there is a lot of relocation of garments industries, and Bangladesh has been lucky enough. Of course, we also deserve that to be one of those sourcing destinations. So basically, I think these are the main areas which has driven our garment sector to a level where you see today. And of course, there are other linkages. We have rapidly developed the forward and backward linkage. So we are 60% self-reliant on fabric production and about 80% self-reliant in garments accessories.
I think we have a lot to learn from this as well in terms of expanding and developing our apparel industry as well.
And I think the Sri Lankans also had a role to play, because in the early 80s, many of the garment factories relocated to Bangladesh, and it's not only about the relocation, you also took your expertise to Bangladesh that helped development of our garment industries.
So we played a role. And also, Your Excellency, you spoke of the maritime connection and maritime benefits of the country. I think Chittagong and Colombo ports are one of the major ports in South Asia. So how can we make use of this for the mutual benefit of both countries?
That's a very important thing. Both Bangladesh and Sri Lanka are littoral countries.
Mm-hmm.
And shipping cooperation is one of the most important areas of cooperation. It can enhance trade and commerce. It can unlock other economic potential. And naturally for Bangladesh, the Port of Colombo is a natural choice, because that cut downs on the travel time when it comes to export our ready-made garment products to the Western market. So connectivity between Chittagong and Colombo, it is a win-win situation for both the sides. But unfortunately, I think only 20% of our container traffic, that's about 700,000 TEUs, go through the Port of Colombo. But as the economy of Bangladesh is growing at a very impressive rate, there is a scope, there is a very good scope of making greater use of Colombo port. So from our side, we are putting more feeder vessels into operation in this route. We are also putting into service other allied services. And from my mission, we are facilitating G2G and B2B engagement between these two shipping communities. And but as you understand, these are all private sector driven initiatives, profit based and incentive based. So to make the relationship, the shipping connectivity more robust, I reckon there is a need for more incentives from the government side. As for the two governments, we are working on two shipping instruments, coastal shipping agreement, there is a feeder services agreement, and once they come through, I think the relationship, the connectivity will be more robust, and that will benefit both the countries.
And also, Your Excellency, there are many Sri Lankans studying in Bangladesh, and also there are many who would want to pursue their higher education in Bangladesh. So what is Bangladesh, the measures Bangladesh has taken in terms of their safety and also introducing more maybe benefits for the students who would come there from Sri Lanka?
Indeed, Bangladesh offers a lot of opportunities for Sri Lankan students for their higher studies in different disciplines. And we are happy to see that more and more Sri Lankan students are pursuing their higher studies in Bangladesh, particularly in medicine. So there is a concentration of students in Chittagong Medical College. Chittagong is the port city, in the Asian University of Women, and from the government we are offering 13 scholarships to Sri Lankan students for pursuing their medical and dental degrees. But apart from that, any Sri Lankan student can pursue their higher studies in our private universities. We have a number of private universities which offer quality education at a very competitive price. And from the mission, we will be happy to do counseling for the prospective Sri Lankan students when it comes to choosing the right institution. So the Sri Lankan students are most welcome to Bangladesh. And when it comes to security, the law and order situation in Bangladesh is more than congenial for any foreign students. By the way, we have thousands of foreign students, mostly from the South Asian countries, and none of them have ever raised any security issue while studying in Bangladesh. So I think there is no requirement of any additional safety arrangements for Sri Lankan students. From our interaction, we know that they are having a good time with their friendly classmates and the friendly people of Bangladesh.
And Your Excellency, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh have large maritime zones. And what we see these days is a lot of human trafficking, drug trafficking, and all that issues, which is a major problem for even the people of the country and the governments. So what can both countries do together to curb this?
I think we can do a lot. As I've said, being littoral countries, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka face identical traditional and non-traditional maritime security threats in the Bay of Bengal and also in the larger Indian Ocean region. And when it comes to the crimes you have mentioned, drug trafficking and human trafficking, using the maritime routes, these are very transnational in nature, so we need regional approach. So information sharing and cooperative surveillance, these are the key. Awareness, yes. So maritime domain awareness, integrated maritime management system, information sharing network, these can facilitate better appreciation or understanding between the regional navies and the other maritime forces. So being a littoral country, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and the South Asian countries in the Indian Ocean region, their cooperation is crucial. There is a forum called Colombo Security Conclave, which can be a good platform. We can also try to use the SARC and BIMSTEC for this purpose.
And it's not only about maritime or ports, we also have a long history of cultural ties. And Bengali films are very popular not only in Sri Lanka but the world over as well. So can you take us through the film industry in Bangladesh?
You are absolutely right. There are a lot of cultural similarities between our two countries, and it is very natural that we love each other's art and literature. So Bangladeshi art and literature, and by extension Bangladeshi films particularly, has a very long and rich tradition. So let me give you some evolution of our industry. The industry started its journey not so long ago, maybe 15 years before our independence, that was in 1971. So the pre-independence film industry, naturally they showcased our great language movement, our glorious liberation war, and our struggle against autocratic military rules. So they depicted not only the social, economic context of that time, but also the collective aspiration as a nation. The films were the source of inspiration, they were the beacon of hope, they stoked the emotion of the masses. So
And
apart from the,
I think it's also a form where we understand different cultures.
Absolutely, absolutely. So after independence, we were still largely an agrarian and rural society. So films of that period, until the mass urbanization of the 1990s took place, the immediately after the independence, the films were mostly about the rural lifestyle, and the social injustice, the social prejudices and all. And in addition to, of course, the passionate love story between men and women and under difficult societal conditions. So that changed after the 1990s, when the massive urbanization took place and industrialization took place. So the films also started capturing the urban realities of life. So it was, the family disintegration, the family system moving from combined family to nuclear family, the material pursuit, and the growing alienation from the root. So these were the predominant themes in the post-independent and the urban, when the middle class started evolving. In the first decade of 2000, our film industry suffered some setback in terms of quality, in terms of content, and the cinema halls were closing down, and people were turning to home entertainment because of the advent of new technology. But recently there has been a turnaround. Yes, so new generation, thanks to the new technology like OTT platforms and all. So new generation filmmakers have come up. They are producing very good films which are critically acclaimed, and the storyline has also changed. It is very diverse now. Not only those pure love stories. Now it's brave storytelling, fiction, supernatural to humor, satire to addressing the social ills. So that is basically that is how the cinema industry, the film industry evolved in Bangladesh.
And also we have learnt that the High Commission is planning to organize a Bengali Film Festival in Colombo. What would be a message to all the cinema lovers out there who are eagerly waiting for this?
Good to know about the interest among the Sri Lankan cine goers. We are planning to host the Bangladesh Film Festival. In fact, that this will be the third of its kind, and we are planning to hold it in first quarter of this year. We are in the process of selecting the movies. We are selecting the most recent ones and the most critically acclaimed ones, and we are also drawing on a wide range of genres to cater to the wider Sri Lankan audience, and I'm sure they will be able to capture the vibe, the distinct vibe of the Bangladeshi cinema, and because of the cultural similarities, it will be easy for them to relate to the storyline. So we will reveal the details in due course.
We're looking forward to it, Your Excellency. And you've also held several positions at the Permanent Mission of Bangladesh to the United Nations, New York. So how do you estimate the involvement of UN for the development of third world countries like Bangladesh and Sri Lanka?
From our experience, we felt that United Nations played a very important role in our impressive development journey. In the initial stages of our development, it started with bringing the all-important funding, and then capacity building, human resource development, and bringing the technical expertise. But now that we are now less reliant on foreign aid, now it's more about capacity building and human resources development. And from my experience in working in at the UN for Bangladesh, we feel that the United Nations can definitely play a very important role in the overall development of the developing countries. Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, we have a lot of challenges in common, many global challenges, climate change, for example, terrorism, financial crisis, public health crisis like the COVID-19 pandemic. So in this kind of situation, Sri Lanka can bring its, United Nations can bring its own resources. It can help build the normative guideline for bringing technical and financial support for our countries to address those global challenges. It can be a platform for developing countries to voice their concerns. So I think UN can definitely play a very important role.
And finally, Your Excellency, what can we expect to future enhance the friendly ties between both the countries?
The 50 years of relationship, it's a long journey. It has been a very satisfactory journey. And but it's not only a time to rejoice, but we also have to look back, take stock. And I think the next phase would be to take the relationship to the next level. And we have a lot of convergences, we have a lot of similarities. We are working on to consolidate those similarities, and that can take the relationship to the next level. And the first 50 years of our relationship has given us a solid foundation for partnership in the next century and beyond. So at this point, I can feel that the relationship can only flourish and go, and that will be the future trajectory of the Bangladesh-Sri Lanka relationship.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for sparing your valuable time with us, and it was a pleasure having you with us on Diplomatic Faces.
And I think the pleasure is mine too, and I'm very privileged and honored to be in your show and reaching out the wider Sri Lankan audience.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, once again. And with that, we conclude Diplomatic Faces, and thank you very much for tuning in, and have yourself a pleasant evening.